Hey guys, today we have a very interesting video. We're going to be going over some illegal business practices that Activision is doing right now. Shocker, right? But my evidence goes back to MW3. And when that game first came out, if you guys don't know, they said that the sales were down, but the player retention after the game released was up compared to the previous games. And the previous games were games like MW2 2022, Black Ops Cold War, MW 2019, and so on and so forth. So if the sales were down for Modern Warfare 3, right, MW3, but this is the rebooted series, keep in mind, that the player retention was up after that game released, but the sales were lower than Cold War, let's just say. I'm just going to throw that out there because Cold War was a pretty good game, did pretty well, retention wise and sales wise. MW3 rebooted 2023, right? When that was released, people didn't buy that as much, especially in the UK. If you remember, the UK numbers were not good at all. So, how was the player retention higher? 40%, 30% that they claimed higher than Cold War, for example. I'm just using Cold War as a comp. Doesn't make any sense. Just doesn't make any sense. How are the player retention numbers better in MW3 with less sales than in Cold War? It doesn't make any sense. Now, when all of this new information came out, with Blame Truth discovering that Call of Duty is still running on your PC on the back end, even when you shut it, on Steam, I don't know if it's exactly that problem on Blizzard as well, but it's definitely the issue on Steam. And if you didn't know, Nero actually had, I think, 200 hours played in one of the games. And he said that back then he didn't even have 200 hours played in one of the OG CODs. And he loved the OG CODs. He still loves the OG CODs. And he said that he's never had 200 hours, I think, in one, but I could be wrong. Either way, he definitely didn't play 200 hours in the new games. We both know that's true. So, how did he get to 200 hours? How are these people having 400 hours played when they don't even log on, or if they log on for one match? Well, that's because Call of Duty has application processors running on the background in your PC while you're not playing. Yes, that's true. That's a fact. That's a fact. I'll put it on screen for you right now. This is a screenshot of the Call of Duty application running on your desktop or your laptop, whatever you play on, and it is saying that you are currently logged in and playing. I have no idea why that's happening. That should be illegal. That looks like almost a backdoor. That looks like a backdoor to your PC. I could be wrong. I don't have any experience or education in technology, but all I know is that when you shut a game, everything should close out from your taskbar. Okay? That's what should happen. And it's not. That's concerning. And so if that is saying that you're playing the game while you're not, and it's doing that for the whole player base on the whole platform, then you're artificially inflating your numbers. And now, this is where I think it's intentional because we're going to get into a little bit of business talk here, and it's called fraud by deception. That's a very, very illegal thing to do. Okay? Publicly traded company or private company. Fraud by deception is very, very illegal. And see, businesses know how to get past it because they implement it in their business model to hide it. They find loopholes, they find backdoors, they find things like that. But when you do something like that and then you get caught, that is where the problem lies because the best people are the people who don't get caught. I hate to say it. The best people who are doing this are the ones that we don't even know about, right? Like the honey scam, they've been doing that. I'm just giving you an example. The best scams are the ones that we don't know about, right? So if we catch Activision doing this, and it was this easy because it only took one person to notice that in their task manager or in their taskbar that Call of Duty was still running, that is shady. So if that's how we just caught them, we could report this to the SEC. And let me get into this right here. So fraud by deception involves intentionally misleading investors or shareholders through false or misleading information about their financial performance, operations, and or material aspects of the business, thereby violating security laws and potentially causing significant harm to those relying on the deceptive information. Now, if I'm an Activision shareholder And one of the very, very important things that matter when it comes to video games, it doesn't matter what type of video games, is the player count, right? So if you're artificially inflating your player count numbers, that is misleading for investors. And if you know about it, that's even worse. But let me tell you something about the law in this country. It doesn't care if you know if you're breaking it. Okay? It doesn't matter if you know if you're breaking the law. If you break a law, you're going to go to jail. Doesn't matter if you have knowledge or not. It does not matter. So when this happens, this is some very shady stuff because this is the exact thing that would tie into artificially inflating player count numbers, making people play the game when they're not. That is the definition of illegal. Okay. And not to mention that they're not disclosing the AI store bundles, that is mandatory with Steam's policy. Okay. That is also a huge rule that they're breaking. But it's actually worse than I thought because the SEC investigates stuff like this. Okay. And the rule is very, very harsh. It protects the shareholders. You have to protect the shareholders from stuff like this, okay? That's why it's very, very important. They investigate fraud by deception, and it's actually called securities fraud, okay? That's why it happens. It's not even about hiding revenues or, you know, creating fake spreadsheets. This is just breaking SEC Rule 10b-5. That's what it is. It's illegal for any person to defraud or deceive someone, including through misrepresentation of operations. Yes, misrepresentation of operation numbers. Not that many people are playing the game. You know what's funny? Based on the Steam player count, right? If we took that over 50% player count drop off and incorporated it into people's games not closing properly, it's actually worse than 50%. The player drop off could be 70%, 65, you name it, maybe even 80. Okay? 55% without accounting for people's games closing properly is very troublesome. That's not good. And when shareholders see that it's only 50%, they see that that's not good, but they don't know that it's worse because they don't know that the game isn't closing properly on the platform. That's where the problem lies here, guys. That's where it is because if they knew that it was down more, what do you think they would do? They would sell their stock. Then Activision loses money and then they start going broke. Okay? That's what happens. That's what is happening here, guys. It is not even up for debate. It is so shady, and Activision is so capable of doing this. I wouldn't even be surprised. Okay, that's probably why all these algorithms exist. It was to get the player retention on the bottom 2% player base. Yeah, the 0.3 KDs, bring them in. We need them. Give them a safe space. Okay, whatever. But when you do this because you're a company and you just want to keep making money, and this, guys, this has nothing to do with video games. Okay, this has everything to do with Activision and illegal business practices. We're just the middleman here, okay? We're literally just the middleman. The Call of Duty community is the middleman, and we're getting the most harm out of this because we're not getting any good games. That's the problem. We're not getting any good games. Shareholders are getting defrauded. Activision is making so much money and firing so many employees. I don't understand what's happening. Why are we making the bad people win right now? Like, I just don't get it. Like, we've been doing that for the past 5 years. We should have not rolled over after Modern Warfare 2019. We should have not bought Cold War. I know it was going to be tough because it was a Treyarch release and Vonderhaar was still on the team, but we shouldn't have really bought that game. We shouldn't have bought that game. We should have taught them the lesson 4 years ago instead of now. I think it's a little too late. But I digress. That doesn't mean that you defraud your shareholders with false player count numbers. Okay? If you ask me if we could find a way to report this to the SEC, I don't really know how to, but if we could find a way to get it there, you know, maybe enlighten them on the situation, and who knows, maybe Activision's got a little rat in there and they just might take that paper and rip it up because they're an Activision bootlicker and like the game, so who knows, but it's whatever. We just got to keep trying our best to get a good game out of these guys. And that's it. And just keep not playing the game, even though that game is going to keep running on your PC. So, yeah. I'm out of time. I just want to let you guys know that I don't think this franchise is going to be saved. I don't think it's going to be saved. I think it's too late. Sadly, sadly, GTA 5 coming down the pipeline. You got too many Dark Souls games that are just killing it right now, and I don't think there's a comeback. I really don't think that there's a comeback. Unless they remaster Black Ops 2 for 2025, that's the only opportunity you got.